One of the most them's words and they not coming out my mouth right. How do words work? Hello and welcome back to my channel. I am Sarah Scharnover. I am a horror author and I am joining in on Wordstock this month. I apologize if you can hear the cooing of my cat. She just does that. So I'm here today to talk a little bit about tension. I talked a little bit in my first video about what suspense was and how suspense works and ways to kind of maintain your suspense. And I wanted to kind of continue on a similar path here with this topic. So I wanted to talk a little bit about ways that you can build tension. According to globalmysteriesblog.com, tension is that element in a novel that evokes emotions such as worry, anxiety, fear, and stress on the part of both the reader and the character in a novel. Tension is important across the board because without tension there are no stakes, and stakes are important to keep your reader involved. There's no reason for your reader to read about laying in a field full of flowers with no conflict. While that might be very pretty, it doesn't really draw a reader through a story because there isn't a story there. That's just a scene. It's just a feel. One of the really important things you can do to build tension and make sure that your readers are invested in your story is to make your characters matter to them. Honestly, I think this is the single hardest thing to do in writing. Making sure that these characters that in your head are fully fleshed out and exist as people inside your head, and making sure that other people are going to identify them that way is incredibly difficult. We all have a different relationship with our own characters than we have with any characters that are written by other people, and we have a different relationship with our characters than other people will have with our characters. If you help your reader to develop a relationship with your characters that is similar to the relationship you have with your characters, even the small things will feel tense and will add to the tension of the story. That's important because you need to bring your reader to the point where they care about the outcome of what's happening, or they won't continue on this journey with you. One of the ways that you can build tension is by making things harder for your character. And I see a lot of people say things like that you should put them through the ringer. And while that in some areas is absolutely true and it works really well, in other areas it doesn't really work as well and it feels forced. Everyone knows someone who makes choices that seem really irrational, that don't make sense. But in order for your characters to seem real to a reader, you do need to make sure that even if their choices are bad or wrong, that they make sense. Nobody wants to read a book about a character who is so erratic that, well, I'm sure somebody does, but most people don't want to read a book about a character that is so erratic that you can't predict anything they're going to do, nor can you really develop a relationship with someone who is so erratic that you can't predict anything they're going to do. You can't predict how they're going to respond to any stimuli, and that can be very difficult, especially as a reader who's trying to develop a relationship with said character. One of the things I think people forget sometimes is that tension doesn't only come from our primary plot. Just because your primary plot is frequently going to be the more tense of the things, that doesn't mean that you can't give tension to the other plots, the secondary and tertiary plots that are in your story. And having those also have tensions can be very helpful to maintain a tense situation, even if you're pulling away from the main tension or you're pulling away from that tension. And it gives the reader a chance to regain their composure about this situation and kind of process it some before they come back to it and work on it more. But you also need your readers to actually give a shit about whether or not your secondary characters have this tension. So none of this can only happen with your primary character. You can't only have your main character be the one who's fleshed out. You can't only have your main character be the one who matters. You need to make sure that your readers care about each separate character, so that way when those characters have conflicts and things like that, it does in fact build the tension that you need to keep your readers reading and to keep your readers wanting more. This is going to be especially true if you expect them to buy more than one book. If this is a series, if they're bored by the middle of book 1, book 5 doesn't matter because they're not coming to it. they're not going to get there. So you have to make sure that the tension is worthwhile, that the tension is not so extreme that it's intolerable, because there are plenty of us who are living under a blanket of anxiety. And while we get into the book to have conflict and tension and stuff, you also don't want to like eat someone alive with their own anxiety and tension. So making sure that you're walking a line that is comfortable to other people is really important. And that's not to say that you can't cover uncomfortable topics, but if you build up so much tension that the reader is in distress, then you're going to have a really hard time keeping that reader there. One of the key elements to tension is timing, figuring out when it is that you can break down the tension, when it is you can ramp it up, and feeling those things out. And that's part of the reason that beta readers and things like that are very important, is because after a while we start to become so familiar with our own story that we don't really recognize where those beats are sometimes. And some people are better at it than others, obviously. This is not the kind of thing that any one person does one way and that's the right way. Writing, as I've said across my channel many, many, many times, doesn't have one set of rules. There isn't one right way to do it. And that's why I'm presenting this much more in a find what works for you to do these things way, is because I don't think that the way I write is going to work for most of you. And I don't think the way you write is going to work for me necessarily. And I think it's important to remember that that's okay. And you can still add these elements even if your process is different than the next person's process. One of the really important things about tension is to have some sort of a time limit, to have some sort of a time crunch, because that does build the, it has a built-in tension meter, essentially. You know that if you have 30 minutes to do something, once you've done a little bit of it, that time has shrunk. And you know that if it seems like you're not moving fast enough, you just need to keep moving faster and faster and faster. And we all experience that. And if we can make it so that the reader feels that along with our character, then the reader is going to feel that tension along with our character. One of the best ways that I find that horror does this, that is different from other genres a lot of time, is that horror really utilizes loneliness and isolation. Loneliness and isolation can be incredibly overwhelming, and it is uncomfortable for a lot of people, as is evidenced by today's world. There's a lot of people who are very upset that they are at home all the time, they're not interacting with other people, they feel lonely, they feel isolated. That causes like a built-in soft spot that you know that that's a thing that is going to be agitating to your character. And the reader can identify with that. Being alone, being trapped, being isolated, most readers can at least identify with why that would be troubling and overwhelming to a lot of people. Okay, so I think that does it for this video. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. As I've mentioned before in previous videos, I'm not much of a teacher. I'm doing my best to kind of give you guys some ideas, but I work the way I work. I don't feel like writing is the kind of thing that has a set of rules that you can be taught that's steadfast. I think it's really important that we remember that we're all different people and our processes are different. And if you pull out 5 different authors' books off of your own bookshelf, they all have different processes too. There's already enough difficulty writing. It's already hard to keep on topic. It's hard to finish something. It's hard to remember to get back to writing when your life is falling apart around you. It's hard to do this. It's very hard. Pretending to yourself that it's not going to be hard and that you're not going to be overwhelmed sometimes is not going to do you any favors. So I think it's really important that you learn as much as you can about these different elements so that you can build into your writing tools, for lack of a better way of putting it, this background that is already there. And I think the more you know about this stuff, the more you understand how these elements play into your different stories, the more you can use them and the more comfortable you'll be with using them, and the more they'll just kind of come to you when the time is right. I wanted to say thank you again for my involvement in Wordstock this month. I had a really good time doing it. I'm going to put a list of the people who are involved in the tension discussion next to me as well, and then I will put their links down below. Don't forget to go back and look at my suspense video. Everyone else's links who I had on the list, who did a video on suspense, is down in that comment section. I have a video tomorrow, which is my usual vlog. I have kind of changed up my style of vlog a little bit because of the fact that we are stuck at home, and that does make it a little more difficult to vlog. Well, at the very least, it gives me less to vlog about. So I will be talking a little bit about me as a writer. I also have live streams every Friday night at 7 p.m. Central. I almost always welcome new people to my stream. If you have never streamed before, if you've never been on my stream before, hit me up on Twitter preferably, or Facebook, or shoot me an email. I miss emails sometimes though, so legit, if you send me an email, write in all caps like I want to join your live stream or something, and I'll try to get you on as soon as possible. I really enjoy having new people on my stream. I know that with me doing the NewTubers, a lot of times people see that we stream and they think, like, that sounds like fun or whatever, and I would absolutely love to have you come give it a shot over on my channel. If you don't like it, then you don't have to do it on your own channel, and it's it's something you can experience without actually doing it on your own channel and getting set up with it, because it is kind of like a thing. If you do if you don't use StreamYard, it does become a little more of a management thing. So if you don't want to do that and just hop right in, you're more than welcome to come join me. Shoot me a message. I would love to have you. So yeah, I'm gonna go and edit this video and record a bunch of other videos, and yeah, and maybe edit my book. We'll see. Thank you again for watching my Wordstock video. Please don't forget to click on all the links below. Also, don't forget to hit my subscribe and my like button down below. And if you want to know when I'm streaming or when I'm, posting videos, hit that little bell icon. I have posted extra videos this week already, so, you never know. I might surprise you. And all of my other links are down below, including my books. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. Thank you for coming for an extra video yet again. And I would love to see you tomorrow for my regular vlog. So have a good week and good writing. Bye.